Welcome to our next series of AI webinars. I've really again been looking forward to talk about Gen AI. And today I have my colleague Jesper, Head of Data Intelligence, and I have a special guest, Mette from Microsoft, the CEO of Microsoft Denmark, coming in here. So it's going to be really interesting. You are allowed to do questions, but I can't promise that we're able to actually answer them because there's such a time limit for the discussion today. But feel free to ask the question and we will get back to you. If not live, we'll get back to you afterwards. So, all this Gen AI is taking us by storm. It's been a crazy time period. I mean, I can't even be on a ski vacation, coming back, then the next thing is out there. Sora, maybe that you saw that with video creations. The world is changing so fast. So even in a world changing so fast, I kind of dare to go into something I call AI predictions. Why do I dare that? Well, the AI predictions, it's all about what's going on now because it's changing so fast. So first of all, I do believe companies will change significantly. I think there will be winners out there gaining a huge growth, a huge profit going into the AI directions. There will be companies losing tractions, maybe investing in AI, but not solving the issues with AI. So we will see a change also in community, citizens. Everything will be impacted by AI. I do strongly believe that. It will change our way of working. It will change leadership. It will change the employees' daily work in the business. It will definitely have an impact on that also. It will change my children's behavior in school. It will change, again, citizens in our country. There will be impact all over. But the trust part of it, it's going to be a key differentiator here because we have so much data now. We have a machine. We have discussions. We have something telling us what we believe should be the right facts. So trust is going to be everything. We cannot survive this. We cannot get into the technology if we don't have trust in what we are doing. So responsible AI is going to be a key driver for the future of AI and the success for AI. And that's a human-driven thing. We need to create that trust. Very, very important. It will also change the way of transformation because with AI, we can do so much new things that will impact the way that we are trying to do our huge changes and that way impacting the way of doing transformations. Just definitely a key driver here. And number 4, up in the right corner, for me, one of the biggest problems we see in the businesses today is data. You all have data. You all have too much data. You all have a chaos of data. But what seems possible now with Gen AI is that you're able to actually make that link between what do you have and what do I do with it? How do I categorize it? How do I sort it? How do I actually use it and leverage it? So there seems to be a lot of value in linking that missing link that nobody really solved today. And actually, we all should have solved today. So we will see in the end of this, of course, a lot of new products. And I will not predict what kind of products you will see, but I will predict you will see a lot of new products. And it's changing every week as we move on. There will be new things popping up. And for this, Jesper, you're here today, and I'm talking about Gen AI. I'm talking about the fast movement within Gen AI. Is it really this complex? What's going on in the Gen AI area? Is it just a click and then you're running?
No, it's pretty crazy. And I think everyone just working within the industry, I think everyone also listening today kind of acknowledges that there's a lot of stuff going on. And to me, this slide also shows how busy it is and how busy it's been for the past
crazy busy.
It's crazy busy. And you know, this slide is even some months old. So if I should redo it now, you know, it would be even more busy. But for me, you know, the big change from how we worked with AI a year and a half ago to now is the fact that we, first of all, have a technology that from the get-go was super mature. So it was a really powerful thing, this generative AI. And it came out in bundles as services. I know ChatGPT is the one we've spoken mostly about, but there are so many services around image generation, movie generation, and so on and so forth. So the fact that it came out as services and somehow was democratized from the get-go, that everyone in the world could actually use this for free, was a major game changer for actually using AI in your daily work. And if you're not happy with the services, I think only like 3 or 4, maybe 5 months after the release of ChatGPT 3.5, we had the same models being able to buy them and put them in our own business environments to actually utilize those together with our CRM, ERP systems, and so on.
So Jesper, how because if I look at this picture, I almost get confused. I almost need an AI assistant to explain me what to choose here, because there's so many opportunities, there's so many modules, there's so many products, and I would guess they all have license fees, they all have security issues, they all have, I mean, there's so many complexity around it, and you can just jump in doing it. So what can I use all that, and how do I start? I mean, how do we even get through that jungle?
Yeah, I think it's a really big question. I think we'll come back to it a little later today as well. But I think you need to be curious to get going. So you need to understand a little bit about what this technology is. I think most of us have spent the past year on getting a grasp on how can we actually use it. So I think broadly speaking, we have a good idea on the use cases. Now we need to figure out how do we roll it out in our company. And I think from working with AI in the past, we were very focused on customizing models, training the models, or adapting other models and train those on our own data. Where now we are much more in a driver's seat, and what we need to do is orchestrate this whole setup, orchestrate between services, models, and our normal day-to-day platforms, ERP systems, CRM, as I said before. So it's much more of an orchestration game. How do I put these things together in a way that we can get the most value?
I think you're definitely right. We're going to, in the end here, going back to how to actually try to grab all this and get the right approach. But for me, it's still a complicated world in the daily run, because what I see in the businesses today is that you're actually splitting up. There seems to be people that have been driving by AI, just running out there to the left and taking 15 of these solutions and just play with it. And then you have the rest of the business. They're still trying to spell AI and find out what it's all about. Yeah. And you get that splitting. And in the middle of that, all the tech vendors is coming in with great solutions. They're building them in all their products. So you will get Microsoft, Salesforce, Google. They all come in with different solutions in that. So it's, for me, seems like that jungle just gets more and more impacted, or more and more crazy to get through.
It's amazing, and it's also amazing and crazy to sit with it and try to do advice every day, because I think, maybe not on a daily or weekly basis, but things change so fast. So the advice I would have given back in December is different today. And I think that actually maybe answers some of your question, how to go about this. It's about figuring out maybe not so short term, what is my use case? How can I take this service and do something good about that? It's about stepping back a little bit and figure out, me as a company or us as an organization, what are the value we can get out of generative AI together, and how can that drive a change or even a transformation for us? And when you start asking those questions, then you figure out, what is the more long-term way of adopting these things.
So have you ever seen any tech revolution like this before?
Never. Or maybe a little bit back in the .com days, early or late 90s, early zeros. But I think the whole infrastructure today is totally different. And the way we adopt technology, the speed we can adopt technology both as human beings, but also with our infrastructure and technology stack is much better placed than it was back then.
So speaking about tech, today we have not today, actually we had a recording here a few days back. You had a very interesting guest here. We have Mette, the CEO of Microsoft Denmark, coming in and representing one of the big technology vendors. So I think we should switch over to that interview, and we'll be right back to the studio after this.
Hi, Mette. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
And thank you for wanting to join us in this conversation around generative AI. Today we are talking a lot about how generative AI can bring value to the companies. So I have a lot of questions for you, so yes. I hope you are up for that.
I love it. It's my favorite subject, so excellent. I'm very happy about the invitation.
I'm a little biased too. So let's start off with a question around the speed of this thing, generative AI. I think most people I know are a little surprised how fast it has conquered the world, and how it's taking main stage in news media and everywhere we look.
Yeah.
In Microsoft, are you surprised, or were you surprised a year ago how fast this went?
I actually was not in Microsoft when it launched, but it feels like that I started together with this kind of AI, and it has just been like a rocket and trying to follow. So it has come in extremely fast, but I think it is, because you forget the past when you say that, because we've had AI for very many years, and actually also Gen AI has been on the rise for many years. But it is, I think, a very good example of when a technology gets mature enough, then it can take off for real. And that is what has been happening with Gen AI this year.
Yeah.
Or the last year. Yeah.
And is there anything in regards of generative AI and what it can bring to the table? Is that also part of the speed of this? Because I think, when I think of AI before generative AI, it's always been something that's it lies within a product, or it's not something you can see, but now it suddenly is in the UI, it's on the forefront, and everyone can see it. It's democratized, everyone can use it.
And everyone can use it, right? And to put it in a little bit of a picture, I also try to phrase this as, it has made AI move out of the IT department and into the board. Because all of a sudden everybody can use it, everybody can try it, it's already trained, it works out of the box, and you just have to use normal language, to get what you want. And if you don't really get what you want, you can ask again, and then it gets more specific into what you want. And I think everybody has been playing with it. Part of it has made it so extremely popular and make it rise so fast as it has done.
Yeah, it makes sense. And some of these capabilities that they bring to the table, is the value that you get out of that, do you at Microsoft see that value as being different from AI in other ways, or is it, what is the signature of generative AI?
We see extremely high efficiency rates on AI when you hit the right use cases. Because, and just to start with that, it's not some kind of magic, and wherever you use it, stardust will come. So when you use the right use cases, you will see extreme value coming out. And one of the best use cases that we have right now is on programming. So the GitHub Copilot that we have been using in Microsoft ourselves for the last 2 years. We have 90,000 engineers using this tool, and we see a productivity gain of 50%. Which is an obscene number.
That's
right?
Amazing, yeah.
That's just amazing. And also part of why this goes so fast. Because what we have done with this extra capacity, you can say, is to put it into the product and develop even more software. Of course, also some on the quality, but actually to develop even more software. So that is one of the, you can say, very strong use cases that we see. Then we see the co-pilots that we have in our own products. The customers we have that have been on trial for this for the last small year, half a year, we see that they can save up to 4 hours a week on the specific use cases. And if you have many people, working on creating marketing material, or working on creating documents, or working on answering support cases, which is some of the good use cases for some of this, and you have big departments with lots of people that can save 4 hours a week minimum, then you also get to something which is very
substantial,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about Copilot, because to me there are different ways of adopting generative AI. We probably know ChatGPT as the ones that or the service that kind of set it all in motion. But we have Copilot. We also have other ways of adopting this. Can you tell us a little bit about Copilot and whether that's different from ChatGPT and others?
Yeah. So ChatGPT is the one we know from the internet, and everybody can use that. And that's actually an OpenAI product. It's not so that Microsoft, of course, owns some of OpenAI, but that's actually an OpenAI product. So the Copilots and the OpenAI on Azure, which is Microsoft products, is within the Microsoft frame. So it's also in a secure environment. It's GDPR, compliant, and also if you use ISO or whatever you have of security frameworks yourself, the services will also be within those frameworks. Then you have the Copilots that we put in our own products. They are based on the same technology as the ChatGPT. It's the OpenAI technology, but it's trained on Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So it knows all the functionality within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but it still has the same user interface. So when I want to write a document, I do not today need to just sit down and write it myself. I ask Word to write the document I would like to write. Or I ask PowerPoint to do the presentation I would like to have. And of course, I'm a little bit more instructive than this, but I'm not myself writing it as a starter anymore. I'm having a dialogue with PowerPoint or with Word in order to solve the tool. So that's the Copilot. It knows the functionality. It can do the document. It, of course, needs me to give it the instruction on how to do this. Then there's the OpenAI on Azure, which is the same technology once again, but where the companies can make their own Copilots or their own GPTs. So they can train that on the HR data, for example, and do an HR Copilot or HI GPT. They can train it on the support environment and get help to answer support requests really quick and in a really good language, and so forth. So that's the three different parts of solutions, you can say, that we have.
Interesting. So in a survey we did recently, we had a lot of CEOs or senior stakeholders in companies answer, you know, what they thought generative AI could do for them, and I think a vast majority actually stated that within the next plus 5 years, they actually think generative AI will transform their companies. You know, would that be utilizing all these ways of adopting generative AI? Or is there anything that would be the major catalyst in doing that? And if they are right, if you think they're right? Yeah,
I think they're right. I spoke to the 50% productivity gain and maybe 10 to 30% productivity gain on using the Copilots in the different tools. And then there's the, you know, your own use cases where you can also gain. I mean, it's like you can free up immense amounts of resources. And that's where this will start. You will simply get, you know, more hands on your hand to do stuff in your business, and you can reinvest that in something else, right? And so I think we will start seeing a lot of use cases where we have these productivity gains, and we see them already. Then we will start to see diversification into that. So, you know, if you have a Copilot that can answer the support requests coming in, then all of a sudden you can deliver 24/7, 365 service, which you might not have been able to do before, but now you can do it when the tool is reliant enough. But then you can go into new services, being a company, and in the end, you can actually start, you know, if you were an insurance company, for example, instead of insuring, you could start actually being in the business of preventing issues at all to happen. And that would be a totally different business model, but you could probably go there, and the investment and the fuel you would need, you would get that from the productivity gain that you start off with and the knowledge from the tools, and then you can move through the chain like that. So I think we will see businesses doing stuff in a totally new manner than they do today.
Yeah. So maybe thinking about, you know, so we talked a little bit about different ways of adopting generative AI. We talked about the possibility of actually, you know, having a transformation in the companies using this. Right now, it seems like everything is changing, you know, maybe not every week, but maybe every month. We see new announcements both from OpenAI and ChatGPT as a services opening up for businesses as well. Yeah. We see announcements from yourself with the Azure AI and new possibilities there. And then the Copilot also just recently opened up for maybe not the biggest of companies, but them being able to buy, be able to buy licenses. So what would you recommend if I, as a small or medium-sized company, asked you, you know, how do I get started with this? You know, what would be the first step into this?
Yeah, but the first step would be to get started. I think it is apparent that you simply need to try this out. But then, of course, also you need to be, you know, diligent into what it is that you want to, you know, what value is it that you want to receive or free up. So you also need to look into your business and have an evaluation and this dialogue with the rest of your team on where is it we can gain advantage, where can we gain the productivity, you know, boost that we are actually able to gain, and how do we need to work in a different manner, and how do we help our organization to do that. I have been a little bit afraid that, I think I also started out with that just because it's generative AI, then it's just fantastic and it will come almost by itself. It won't, right? You need to be diligent. You need to have an objective. You need to be, goal setting on why is it that we do this, where is it that we want to go, and how can we help our people to do that. You have to work in another way to gain the productivity that you can get here. So start out by being curious, get it in, but also look into your company and think, if I had, where could I free up a lot of hands if I could put in some extra help.
Before coming in here, we also talked a little bit about data and maybe data being, a really great IP for the companies, because somehow it's actually in the data that sets you apart. A lot of the tools will be the same, but using data or having data is maybe the unique selling point, or what takes you apart from competition.
Yes, that is correct, because it is when you train the model on your own data, then it gets competition towards the others. So the better data you have, or the more you are able to use the data you have, the further you can, or the further you can get. Yeah. So that is super important. And that's actually also something, when you want to use this, you need to have a good overview of at least the security sort of set up around your data, because when you have a co-pilot that can go out and look in your network, you need to know that it's set up correctly. Otherwise, you might get data in the tools for everyone that you would not like to get in there. And you also need to have a good view on, do you have old versions of stuff that you do not want to be part of, for example, in a support where you answer support requests coming in. If you have an outdated manual for something, you do not want to have that as part of the answer, right? So data is super important in this as well.
Yeah. So you also talk a little bit about security here, which is what I also hear for companies who wants to explore this. So there's a lot of questions. Where do my data end up? Can I rely on the answers I get? Can I just use that in a client context? What are the ethics around that? How do we control this? What's your point of view also with the Microsoft hat? Is there anything we should be concerned about, or anything you want to highlight that's something that can reassure people that it's a safe way to go?
Yeah. So I started out by saying when the tools are within our cloud or within our framework, then it is within the compliance setup that we have. And when our customers use these models, we do not train the models on our customers' data. We train the models in totally different ways and much more efficient ways than training them on our customers' data. So the model will get better in the customer setting. That's part of the value here. But it will only be in the customer setting, and it cannot be taken out anywhere. And the model do not save data. That's maybe also how can I reassure myself on something. Yeah. We do not. It uses data and it gives back an answer, but it's not a database where a lot of data is placed somewhere else. It's using the data within the framework that is already there. So that is I hope reassuring. And then we live from selling software to our customers, and we can simply not. We cannot have that our customers' data is not safe and with us, and is not safely used with us. And the business model at all is not using our customers' data. It is to sell the solutions that we develop in the engineers' facilities that we have round and about. So I think that's one thing. Then when we speak to security, I actually think it's you, PwC, who has made an analysis on some of the what are the main use cases that we see on generative AI? And I think 50% is within security. I know that's not the trust and all of that, but that's actually also a little bit interesting, right? So how you actually get more strong on cyber, how you get a better security posture within your business is also using Gen AI. And you will also see we also have co-pilots on security that our customers now can start to use. So that's the other side of it. It can actually help us be more strong on cyber as well.
It absolutely reassured me. But what about the thing about how to use it? Can it replace people, and can can we rely on the output that comes out of it?
What we say right now, and that's also to reassure our customers, is that it is a co-pilot. It's not an autopilot, it's a co-pilot. So, there needs to be a human in the loop still. I don't think we will see that for many years, but that's what we say still. And then, of course, the more you train the model and the more specific you are on the data it is allowed to use, the more you can set it free, right? So there are certain gates that you can actually allow it to use still internet knowledge when it answers. Maybe you do not want that in certain ways, so you can sort of cut that off, and then you can train very specific on a smaller, you can say, amount of data, and then you won't see as many crazy answers as you will if you have a very broad information pool to answer from. And then when you train, and if you build also, sometimes you can actually use other models as well, other AI models around your Gen AI to fence it in and to make sure that it's actually doing exactly what you want it to do. And you still have the power of the Gen AI in there. Yeah. So we're still advising that you have a human in the loop. I think moving forward, we will see that we will not need that to the same extent anymore.
Okay.
So that's also a way to be sure that it does not say something strange, which we have all tried using ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, but I think you also phrased it that way earlier, that it's about, in terms of Copilot, it's about getting somewhere really fast and then being able to do the final details yourself. So you have kind of 50% or 60% or 80% of a document.
90%.
And then you go.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just maybe a little curious. Are you using Generative AI yourself?
Yes,
and if yes, so what are you using? How are you using it?
I'm using it for meeting preparations. I have a lot of meetings, and often I'm also into meetings where I do not really have the depth of the information, maybe that my account team have or that the customer have. So to get up to speed real quick on the subject at matter is actually really a good use case also using Generative AI. So I can very quickly, get the information we have on the customer or on the subject at matter. I can ask Word to write, a short, presentation for me or a short review for me on what this is all about. If I need a few slides, based on that Word document, can ask, PowerPoint to do the presentation for me, a few slides, so I have them. If I know I have 20 mails from the customer, I need to somehow get that. You can spend a lot of time on finding these mails normally, right? I can just ask Copilot to get those mails for me, and I can get a summary of the mails. I use it in many different ways. Then we also use it very much for meetings. It's also in Teams. And when you use Copilot in Teams, you can ask the Copilot to do the resume of the meeting afterwards and also do the action points. And it actually knows who said what and who is actually, who got which tasks. So we have saved a lot of time on that, and also saved the, silly discussion on who is actually going to do the resume after the meeting, right? We just have it there. And so we also always record our meetings to get that. And you can search in that afterwards, we had this meeting yesterday, what did Jesper say on this? Yeah. And then I can actually get that out. So it's a totally other way of working.
And it's probably documenting things that you wouldn't have documented otherwise, right?
Exactly. So, and also if you come late for the meeting, you can ask for a resume until now. You don't have to have someone explain. You can ask what Jesper said 20 minutes ago, or whether you're positive or negative into the subject that we discussed. It could actually, use looking into what kind of words you use, give me a sentiment of that, and I can use that in the meeting. There's a lot of different stuff that is possible.
Yeah, and again, it's speaking into the fact that it's adding value. It's adding something that's not there already, right? So it's about spending our time even better.
Yeah,
and creating more value.
Yeah. And then back to the implementation, we need to remember to start the recording still when we go into the meetings, right? Otherwise, we won't get it. So and that is a change because maybe everybody's in the room. We still put Teams on and Copilot on to get this, right?
Yeah. Makes sense. So I guess it's no secret that Microsoft and PwC in Denmark we have a close cooperation and I think from my point of view, it's been even more important since things are going this fast. You know, we as consultants, we need to understand what happens within technology in order to advise and in order to help implementing these things out there. So to us, it's super important. How do you look at this cooperation in terms of you being a technology software company and having consultants around you? You know, what is the ecosystem here? You know, what is your view on that?
But it's super important for us. We are a platform company, so we do not do the heavy lifting and the heavy implementation at our customers. Sometimes they ask us to really put our hand on you know, the hot plate, and then we do it. But we would rather do it via partners because it's super scalable. So it's extremely important for us that we have a good collaboration with you, and you also come, you know, with other capabilities than we come with. We know what the tool can do, we know what the technology can lift, but how to implement and drive the planning and, you know, do the change management and all of that, you're much better at that than we are, and you also know, maybe because you already work with some of these customers, right? You know the processes already, so from the customer side, it's actually also more valuable that you are in there and can help them with that part. So we're totally reliant on that, and we have 3,500 partners at least in Denmark, not only consultants, of course, but it's a very big ecosystem, and it's extremely important for our business that it's working well.
Yeah. I guess, you know, with generative AI as well and how you operate it, you know, it's a lot of it comes pre-trained as well.
Yeah.
With generative AI. So there's, I guess, you know, also a big orchestration part in this. You know, how do you get this to interact with your ERP systems or CRM systems,
yes,
or, you know, whatever in your technology stack that could actually benefit from this and create a greater outcome.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also something where you can help us immensely, right? And just also when we look at, you know, I started by saying you start by the efficiency part, then you might do some diversification, and then you might even do a new business model, you know, to advise on that. At the customer side, you are also a big part of that and helping them to find the right answers, just starting out by finding the right use cases so that they get the initial value and can get on the journey in a good way. So the consultancy part of that is also very important for us, that we have other partners in the market that can come with that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just maybe a last question. So you know that sustainability and ESG is close to my heart. So is obviously AI. But do you see a connection there? So is there a reason why we should or could embrace both?
Yeah, for sure. When I look at generative AI, I actually think we have, you know, some of the very big challenges that we have in the world will be solved, and one of those is sustainability. Cyber is another one, efficiency gains is another one, and then we have the whole healthcare industry. So on the sustainability part, we already work with some of our customers on really lifting how much greener they can be using Gen AI. We are doing a really interesting project with Vestas, where we are looking into how the windmills, the wings, are standing in the right way, not to shadow, you know, down the mill farm.
So you optimize the whole farm.
So we optimize the whole farm and actually get much more through. That's good for everyone. And we also have ourselves really hard sustainability targets, actually. So in 2025, all our data centers need to run on green energy. So we are investing massively in that. So that's, of course, also part of the Vestas. We also did a carbon capture project with Ørsted, where there's a lot of AI in that, and also just us investing in, you know, helping them out and also buying some of the credits that come out of that farm. So we have extremely hard sustainability targets on ourselves. In 2030, we will be carbon negative, water positive, and waste neutral. And all the land that we have spent on our, I think we have at least 600 data centers, and they are quite big. We will give that back in other ways. So we are very invested in this area. I think we also have an investment fund of $1 billion to support all of what we want to do. Extremely invested into that. So there we also have a common ground that we can work with.
So the future of AI is green.
It should be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have a big problem, and that's what we're investing in. And actually, the data center part, the all green in 2025, it came after Gen AI went into the market. I think that's pretty bold.
It is. Thank you very much, Mette. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Wow. I really feel the passion Mette shows here around AI. It's really, I love that interview. And if I just should put 2 words around this, diligent, you never get rid of that. It seems to be a key thing here that we need to remember. And then effectiveness. She's actually quite bold, talking about 50% effectiveness on engineers.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's massive.
With so many thousand people. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it's something for the rest of us to catch up on and be part of that journey coming into this. Yes, but we need to, and we promised that we will go into a little bit about how do you get started. And I know that topic in itself is huge, so we can't, go into all the details around it, but we can at least try to define kind of the platforms and a little bit after this, what do we do then? We have, and I know, I'm sorry for that, I had a complex slide right before this, but was trying to explain this, I called it the jungle, AI jungle, trying to simplify a little bit here, but what do you see here? What is this platform that we're talking about? What is the landscape here?
So I think, and just to be clear, this is evolving, all the time. But right now we see kind of 3 ways for an organization or a company to adopt these technologies. You could either go with the raw models, the services from that you saw on the first slide as well, the lower part. You can figure out or look into how your company can use these services in a good way, and there are plenty of use cases in that.
And this is here where kind of everybody's using it. It's my children, my neighbors, everybody's fiddling around with
it's the websites, and it's obviously not just OpenAI who has ChatGPT. Google came with Gemini just recently, and there are loads of other services out there. But the service way of adopting the technology is one way of going, and it's depending on how you see the money. It's fairly cheap to get started and actually start getting value out of it. If you go with the open part, it's not suitable for private data, obviously. And if you go with the closed one, there will be limited access on how you can integrate with your own environment. You can, but it's more cumbersome. On the other end, you can say, and this is where the models bit from the first slide comes in. You can take the models or buy the models and put it into your own ecosystem. And there you can work with it and work with specialized use cases. And I think for many companies, that would be the right way of getting started, to actually get the language model into your own environment and then start working on the use cases that will make a difference for your company. And then maybe not a new kid on the block, but it's only recently in Denmark that Copilot became available for everyone in where you could buy just 1 license at a time. But Copilot comes with a lot of productivity gains within the Office suite, but still also opens up for a platform where you can get data from your systems into that setup and work with it. So right now I see those 3 primary ways of adopting generative AI in your company.
And if I kind of look at that journey, so the first one is like everybody's just jump into that. I think that's why we, as I remember, like 100 millions arrived into the Gen AI area within 2 months.
Yeah,
record high. Getting that influence is just crazy. In the middle now, we're talking about having it built into our apps.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Copilot. We see that on a broad level. We see Salesforce, SAP, Oracle. They're all coming with different solutions. Google building it into
do it in Google as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're all building it into the apps. So we're seeing where the customers currently working is in that middle space here, all talking about doing Gen AI stuff.
Yeah.
But it's actually what I would call the commodity part. It's something that kind of everyone has it if they just want to pay that license. And we do actually get some complaints about the license is very expensive.
Yeah.
You didn't talk to Mette about that.
No.
But I think it's also about, can you gain that value? Because if you can optimize 50% of your engineers, it's probably not that expensive. But that's a balance we're going to see in the future. And I didn't have that in my prediction here, if people is actually able to collect that value.
No.
But we will see that coming in here. But that would be in that middle core of it. And I will define that as that kind of commodity part of it. But I do see that special use cases, that should be the one bringing the high value, or am I wrong here?
No, that's where the potential for real transformation is. But I think, and if you maybe go to the next slide, our method for doing this in a diligent way is to work a lot on the company use case rather than individual functions use case. So rather than looking at, okay, so how can I solve this specific problem? Look at the problems broadly speaking in the whole company, and there you will find an answer on how to adopt it. So in our method, we spend a lot of time in the first phase looking at patterns. So the use case for working in the factory and use case for working in administration or in finance or in sales are different, but there will be patterns where some of the use cases are similar. And that will steer you towards whether you should go with a service setup, whether a own model setup, or whether you should work from the language models in the products.
So, if I can talk a little, or put the view back to what do I see that the customers out there, the frustrations, or maybe not frustrations, also the positive part of it, but they all come back to how do I get started, and they're all concerned about. They have so much data. I was also mentioning in the beginning here, they all struggle and they're almost drowning in data.
Yeah.
And we're coming in saying you can do all this clever stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't even know, we probably don't even know either, because it's kind of an agile process that you need to get started, and the strategy and the vision around this is also what you're mentioning here.
Yeah.
It's the key place to start, because would you actually know the end of that project yet?
You will absolutely not know the end. But I think because everything changes so fast, I think it's really important that you're clear on your phase one, because otherwise you might have to redo that phase one again and again, along with all the news that will be rolled out. So if you're comfortable that you have done research in your company, figure out the use cases, the right use cases for you that will bring the most value, regardless of whether it's in your office or whether it's building something with a model on your own, or whether it's utilizing service. If you have that fundament, then you can work in a more safe way, and you don't have to go back all the time.
So I think part one, getting the strategy and the vision is quite clear. Part two, understanding your environment, the data, getting some structures up running, it seems also clear. If you should just put a few words on adopting and then that reinvestment part, what do you see there? And matter of time here, we don't have much time left, but can you quickly give a few words on that?
Yeah, I think, and this is also the question I'm getting more now. So before Christmas, we talked a lot about the use cases. What should I do? What would be valuable for me? Now we're talking about, okay, so now we identified, a couple of use cases. Maybe we even done the first analysis on where the company wants to move. But how do we make sure that our entire company then adopt this? How do we make a proper change management project out of this? So all the value that we see in the strategy also is fulfilled within that. So doing that in a good and sensible way is going to be, the whole equation on success.
And getting that value will be my key concern. Also, when I discuss this with management layers, the cost is given.
Yeah.
So that's a guaranteed one. But the value gaining here is what it makes it a little bit blurry. Yeah. And we need to have focus on getting that value. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just another technology putting into the basements.
Exactly. And moving on to the last one, then when you harvest that value, then it's about figuring out, okay, what are my lessons learned? How do I extend this, and how do I extend this in a good way? And with all the news coming in, what are the new possibilities? Making sure that fits into that ecosystem.
So actually fuel that investment. If you see value coming out of it, give it even more and bring even more value into that sentence.
Exactly.
And number 5, governance, AI. We've been through that also in an earlier webinar, but just want to say it again, it's really important here. You can't do it without that. You need that structure and that governance around the whole project, actually.
Yeah.
Coming into this.
That's going to be your safe space.
Yes, but time is running so fast here, and it's something that we couldn't discuss whole day. Yeah. And I actually would love to do that, but I'm quite sure you out there won't be sitting there the whole day. So we want to get a little bit to these kind of short events, but that's also why we create a series of webinars. So we hope that we'll follow up on this. We have a lot of interesting webinars coming in. We have the digital twin coming up. This is where we go quite deeper into those custom specific solutions. We have Faring as a customer coming in talking about this special event about how to actually develop things with use of AI. Thank you. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Jesper, for participating. And thank you, Mette, for joining us today.